Okay, it's April 10th. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll begin with the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item A3. I want to welcome all our guests this evening. Thank you for being here. ¿Habrá necesidad para traducción al español? Thank you very much for being here. Moving on to item A4. I'll entertain a motion to approve this evening's agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by Director Mike Garza. Your second.
Second.
Second by Director Hilmes. Any discussion? If not, we will be voting on our machines this evening and making sure that we get this down.
So are we voting live and on the machine?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You click join meeting.
Maybe the president doesn't get to vote.
Or maybe you need to refresh. There isn't enough either, is it? Mine is. Yeah, no, it came up. Oh, you already got it. Yeah.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to item B1. Is there any citizens request to speak? Okay. Moving on to item C1. Ends one report by Dr. Hurst.
What we would like to do is just share with the board directors the layout. It's an extensive document. I provided for all of the board members at the very end a detailed explanation of what global competence is. I've been talking about global competence framework since the beginning. It is a book, so feel free to read through it. It will explain in detail what those 4 layers are. So when you look at the first piece and you ask about graduation or graduating prepared to immediately compete and succeed in post-secondary education, there's an interpretation that I provided for the board of directors, which really falls under a global competency framework. And then what I did is I outlined those 4 components. Instead of going into detail, I did provide the reference at the back or at the end of the document for everyone. The layout is very similar to what I've done in the past, where I have provided current reality, and we've tried to really provide as many percentages to the board of directors as possible. But you can see the current reality is directly what all the schools are reporting that's happening in each particular area. Also wanted to share with the board that whenever you see an explanation, it provides a school. I'm just talking about that one individual school. If the school is not named, it implies that all schools are doing that particular activity. I also wanted to share with you about the middle school. We are a Gear Up Grant District. So with that, I provided with you their criteria in moving forward that aligns with global in number 1 also. So with that grant comes resources through the year 2023, which is our current 6th and 7th graders. So eventually all of our students will be impacted by the Gear Up grant, starting with the current year 6th and 7th graders. So through high school. So some pretty rigorous outcomes there. Wanted to share that with you. And then the other piece, as you look at the ideal state, you'll be able to see some of them have been filled in with some of the vision that I've shared with you before, but others are conversations that need to be had. So when it gets to the next element, I'll talk specifically about what April the 27th, because you have seen that several times in this document and the last document about We're going to get together. We're going to look at interpretations. We'll look at rationales, measures, outcomes. So that day has now been identified, and I'll be talking about that in my next segment. But I wanted to just provide you with a layout of the ends so you can understand certain elements of it. And I wanted to go to the next element under Sorry, that's the end of my report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions from the board? Okay. Moving on to item C2. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from last board meeting.
Are we gonna be approving things separately now?
Yes,
Just minutes
only
separately?
minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Let's see, it's just you and I at the last meeting. So I move to approve,
I watched it on Facebook Live later.
good. I move to approve the minutes from the March 27th board meeting.
Motion been made by Director Hillmis to approve minutes.
Second.
Second by Director Simmons. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0, I believe, yes. Even though I still not seeing it. Okay. Moving on to item C3, consent agenda. Is there any questions about consent agenda before we move on to approve?
One thing, just a suggestion on this, maybe a suggestion for Sandra and Dr. Hurst. As an attachment, it just says ends one. Might be important to have it be ends one monitoring report, just so we're clear on that.
Awesome.
So what we're approving.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? If not, we're moving on to item C4, and I'll entertain a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by Director Mike Garza. For your second.
Second.
Second by Director Ashton. Discussion? Let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to item C5, Superintendent Report. Dr. Hurst.
So I'd first like to speak about the last day of school and senior Saturdays at at Othello. At Othello High School. My first slip up. Wow. So I wanted to share with all of you, there's a document actually uploaded, and it talks about the makeup days. It's going to be at Othello High School. The first one is April the 15th, and I've been in contact with the principal there, and they've met as a leadership team, and they have shared the following. On April the 15th, they'll have the students meet in the library. The time will be from 9 to 12. They'll be working on senior projects, missing work, failing grades, homework assignments. They will have plenty of supervision there. Certificated teachers will be hired, and also EAs will be hired also to assist with the tutoring process. Counselors and administrators will be on board also on those days, the 15th and the 6th. The activities will be about the same, with the addition on May the 6th. That Saturday will be a beautification project also at the Wildlife Refuge. And then on May the 20th, that last Saturday, it will be really the seniors practicing their senior presentations. There'll be tutoring services provided as well. There'll be plenty of supervision. And there'll also be staff available to make personal phone calls, especially for those seniors who are in danger of failing. They are communicating with the parents this week. The first Saturday will be this coming Saturday. So they do have things lined up for this coming Saturday. They also will be running it in the bulletin and then announce it to their seniors for this week, starting this week.
Quick question.
Yes.
What are the requirements for seniors to make it?
So by the state does not hold us accountable for attendance. However, as long as the package is approved by the board of directors, that's what we're moving forward with. So our direction from the state is we can do the 3 hours and then we hold them accountable for their attendance. We will have a sign-in for the seniors. So we will be capturing the attendance.
So the fact that these are 3-hour days, it's equivalent to a full day, and that's.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Great.
So next, are there any questions on? So I'd like to talk about the leadership meeting that's coming up. And if we could pull up, go down. So right there, second to the last page, one up. So this is the opportunity that we've been talking about for a couple of weeks now. And as you know, been working with Karen Friday Field from Meridian. She's a consultant. She's really been helping us to continue to develop coherency across the district. So this day has been set aside as a leadership retreat or a mini leadership retreat. So in attendance will be myself, the executive cabinet. Also, all directors will be there. All principals will be in attendance, and all vice principals, assistant principals will be in attendance also. It's an important day because, again, we'll be looking at what policy governance is, and she will really be sharing with all of them, this is what policy governance is. She'll give us an overview. She'll actually be Skyped in into our meeting. She won't be visibly there, present.
So is that
Set today.
the day at the top that has today, right?
That was our meeting today.
Oh, okay.
We had a meeting with her today on the phone, so this is what she covered with us today.
Okay.
But on the 27th, she'll be Skyped in and be sharing it with the entire team that I just shared with you. But the important piece is really defining key language. So you can see on the second to the last page, she has some very key terms there that was important for us to know. So as we look at all of the ends, the 3 ends, we'll be going through this process with each of the ends. When you look at ends 1, it goes down certain levels. Ends 2 goes down a few levels also, and then ends 3 also. So it's important that the board understands that for each one of these ends, and as they go down multiple levels, we'll be providing an interpretation at each level. So it is rigorous work. And as you go down to the last slide, Sandra, you can see an example. So when you look at the global end as it is right now, one of the first elements is students graduate prepared to immediately compete. So that's the first level. Then it goes down another level also. So for the first level, as you can see, we'll be providing a conceptual outcome, a strategic operational outcome, a metric, a target, and a rationale at each different level. So again, important work. Every one of our leaders will be involved in this work. So I wanted to share that with the board of directors. Any questions on that day?
I don't think so.
So next, I would like to just share with you central office transformation. We have the opportunity to continue interviews for director positions. That's going to be transpiring this week. What I would like to ask the board of directors to consider is that we have a special board meeting on Friday for approval of those directors from these interviews for this week. This is going to be important for us as we move forward, because what we want to do is take in consideration everyone that applies inside the district and outside the district. And if someone does fill those positions inside the district, we want to jump on that opportunity right away and start advertising for that position right away. We don't want to wait until the May timeframe. We want to really post those positions the week of the 24th. So we would like the board to consider a special board meeting.
So my suggestion to the board is, since the last of the interviews will be held Friday morning, if we could get together Friday lunch hour and have this special meeting to approve the
What
the
Friday are we talking
selections,
about?
this coming Friday.
So I have a meeting that lasts until 1,
Okay.
but I'm open after that.
Is any board member open after 1?
And actually, I would have to have it be at 12 o'clock
Okay.
because I'm going elsewhere.
Well, whatever
the
time you
majority's
get the
there.
majority of the board, that'll work. Is everyone else available at 12? Director Hilmes, Director Simmons?
It's which day again?
Friday, this Friday.
Yeah, should work.
Actually, noon would work better for me. I possibly could do 1, but noon would work better.
Okay. So let's go ahead and make it,
I might be a few minutes later than noon, but
okay. So we'll go ahead and call a special meeting then Friday at noon. And those of you who can make it, great. District will provide lunch and we'll go, it'll be a quick meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so,
We will be done by 1. hopefully.
oh yes, I'm sure plenty before 1. And so, great, awesome.
Thank you. I do have a couple of more items. One has discussed dates to meet with Meridian Edge consultant Karen Friday Field. So my recommendation I would like to ask the board of directors to consider is that we look at our current annual retreat, board retreat, and look at the 6th. She has asked for 5 hours to meet with the board of directors.
So here's my suggestion as president. I think that's probably the only time all 5 of us board members will be at the same place at the same time. And so I think it's a great idea. I've discussed this with Dr. Hurst already. When we get to our director discussions, if there's so many agenda items that we have to maybe possibly even meet Friday night to cover some of the agenda items, I think most of us are there Friday night. And so I think it'd be a great idea for Saturday morning, the first 5 hours, beginning right at 7 a.m. all the way till noon, have this meet with this consultant as it's pertinent that all 5 board members are present. And so what are your thoughts?
what's the purpose of the meeting?
Good question. We've discussed this at other board meetings, and this has to do with Dr. Hurst wanting to reshape or reform the ends policies. And so she has been in discussions with Dr. Hurst already, and you could give some more direction.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we're doing, as I shared with you in a previous document, is really looking at coherency across the district, looking at that framework that I shared with you where we'll be presenting all of the outcomes, the rationale with the board. Karen is an intricate part of that. We'll also be looking at just the magnitude of the work. So one of the things I've been talking to her about is the levels of the ends policies and maybe doing a refresh on the ends policy. So as you look at some of the ends, you have some ends that go down 10 levels deep, which means you have a 1, a 2, all the way through a 10, or you have 10 bullets. When you look at the ELs, total, we've looked at everything, and you have 125 different elements. So when you look at the 125 different elements, that means that our team or the district would need to really respond to each one of those elements and provide an interpretation for each one of those, an outcome, a measure, a target. So part of this is just doing a refresh on our ELs and our ends. One of the things I've shared with Karen also, we want to do the work. We want to do the work right. And really, is our system designed to accurately measure 125 different items from the ELs? So really engaging in a conversation with the board and myself on looking at a refresh of our ends and our ELs. So that's the purpose, primary purpose, which is part of the work that's going to happen on the 27th also.
So the purpose of the 5 hours would be for the board to rewrite the ends and ELs?
Look at ends, yes.
My personal preference would be to do that meeting in district so that the community members could come if they want, or other staff. More like when we originally, if we're going to do something of that scope, more like when we originally did the policy governance to begin with, even if it's a separate Saturday. That'd be my personal feeling on it. Is it something that's that big should be done here where community members can easily come?
I agree. That was my concern too, is that we're in a place there that we're not going to have much of an opportunity for that kind of input. This is important. I'll make myself available.
Okay.
So if you had some Saturday days, I'm committed to it. I'll block out.
Awesome.
We'll make it work.
Okay.
Just the 3 dates that were provided, I don't think we had all 5 board members present at any one of those dates. And so that was part of the reason why we wanted to go this route, but
She
that
didn't
makes
have any
sense to
other
me.
days,
Um,
or that
I'm sure
We can check. We'll go back to her.
you weren't looking at Saturdays before,
No.
I
right?
don't think so.
We were not.
So, okay, we'll come back to the board with more dates then, and hopefully that'll work out. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And then I have one more item, 17-18 bail schedule that's going to be presented by Gina Bullis.
That's loud. Okay, I think we just need the one board report summary open. Yes, that one. So this document gives a background on why we were doing this, and we actually went to the community last year, but it was pretty late in the spring, did a survey, and so we started the process a little earlier this year. And basically the bullets give the overall step-by-step communication process that we've done to date, and the proposal that we're going with further down, Sandra, if you could move it up please a little bit, gives the start times of elementaries that'll be staggered 5 minutes apart, and we'll be meeting with principals this Friday to decide who's at 8, 8:05, 8:10, and 8:15. So this staggered start time gives the ability to get our students to school and utilize the busing that we do have, and minimize or eliminate the excessive wait time after school because of this year, all the tiered routing. So you can see below the bullet where it says board communication, we've got some other individuals to communicate this week, OEA, PSC, and we'll do a overarching article in the weekly letter this Saturday to get it out to all staff. And then we'll get a letter out to all parents, and then do some continuous communication through the end of the school year, and also post it on our website just to keep it in front of parents.
So I have
So-
a question.
Go ahead.
My main question is revolving around the end times for high school students that pick up their younger siblings at the elementary schools. There's like potentially a 30-minute lag there. What's our plan at the elementary schools for taking care of those kids until their siblings can pick them up? I don't know how many that is, but I know there's some.
That's a really good question. I don't know that we have that mapped out, but I think it would be something very similar to what we did this year with wait times for busing. So if we have 20 or 30 students, we'll accommodate that need and identify if that's a regular thing. You know, if there's students that are being picked up on a regular basis by their older siblings, I'm sure whether the library or some pre-planned event or classroom, and then that'll also be available for students where it's a random type of a situation. But we'll definitely address that next fall.
Good. I just wouldn't want to have kids out there,
Yep.
especially elementary kids.
No, well,
Unsupervised
yeah.
for a while.
So Gina, is there a potential for this bell schedule to change if and when we do have enough bus drivers at some point?
Well, there needs to be a staggered time. It changed a couple years ago when we went to a 7 period at the high school. The start times used to be 15 minutes apart, and this year they're like right on top of each other. So whether that would change in the future or not with more bus drivers, I'm not sure. Right now, we cannot be at all schools, even if we had a fully staffed transportation department at the same time. So this just provides some flexibility with our current staffing as well as viability even with a full transportation staff.
Jenny, can you explain to me how will the change in the schedule allow us to have fewer bus drivers on duty?
So right now we're doing tiered busing in the morning and the afternoon where we take students in and then in groups and then bring them back. So this was done in coordination with transportation. So the drop-off schedule will allow for a natural tiering instead of right now we're tiering all schools. We're dropping off a group of students at each school, elementary
Before you go
school.
on, the problem is I've never had my kids ride a bus, so I don't even know what you mean when you say.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So we
If I'm
have
asked, I want to be able to explain it. to
we
someone.
have kids that are dropped off. I can't, don't quote me on the exact time, but 7:20 or 7:30 in the morning, I'm a bus driver. I'm going back out and get another group that's going to be dropped off to that same elementary school. The students that arrive earliest are the ones that leave first at the end of the day. So I'm delivering and picking up to each elementary school and the middle school twice every day, where this will allow a natural process. I'm going to drop off to the elementary schools and then the middle schools and then the high school.
Okay, gotcha. And then my other question is, I might be oversimplifying this, is with the fewer bus drivers and we're accommodating that, does that cause a need for fewer buses in our district?
No, because we hope to still have, this is no. We need all of our buses and we actually still need more bus drivers. It's still going to be tight. It's just this year we have extra staffing after school, extra staffing in the morning, and a lot of wait time for our kids after school. So this will help eliminate or minimize, but not totally eliminate. By adding another 6 to 7 bus drivers, it would be a much smoother process.
So we're 6 or 7 short right now?
I'd have to confirm that with Marion, the exact number.
So this is just the country kids that get picked up for buses. All the local kids walk to school still, or?
This has to do with every student right now that's riding the bus. And again, I don't know the exact parameters around a school, how far you have to live from a school before you're considered
Before you get
picked up. But this addresses all students that are currently riding the Othello School District buses.
Do you know, we have percentages of the results of the survey. How many people were there that participated? Do you know?
I can look that up. It was about 250 to begin with online, and then we realized that the families who had, and it was only, you could do the survey if you have students in the district because it required a student ID to get online to do the survey. And it was done the week before Kinder Roundup. So we realized there was a group of parents. We took the Kinder Roundup lists, all students that were registered during Roundup, and basically went through to determine any parents that have students already in the system. And there were about 80. And so there was a phone calling process to explain this. Took 4 or 5 hours with 3 or 4 people just to give those parents the same opportunity to.
Yeah, and just like Rob says, when this comes about or when they're notified of it, I want to be able to say,
Right.
this is how.
Right.
it came.
And so, yeah, and that's pretty much the step-by-step on here. And so the Kinder parents would have been the only parents. If their Kinder student was their first student in the Othello School District, then they wouldn't have received a letter to notify them of the survey online, which was online for a week. And I believe the elementary principals sent it out, also communicated it through the mail they sent home with their kids. So I think we did a due diligence as far as communicating.
So just to be clear, again, for the purposes of answering questions, proposal A had high school getting out first before elementary.
Yes, on the letter in the board packet, there's a copy of the letter that went out to parents and it had proposal A and B
Okay.
on it.
And you said the survey, online survey was completed by about 200 and some people?
I can look, yeah, it was a little over 200. I think it was around 240.
What do you think that is percentage wise of? I mean,
Of how many
240
students?
would be,
It's probably about
Families, so families have
10%. I think we have
multiple
about
students.
2,000 students that ride the bus. Actually,
And
this
some
is
are gonna have
missing, but
multiple
it's,
kids.
it's everybody that's got to vote. So we have 4,400 kids and it impacts every student, depending on how many kids are in your family. So I'd have to run some numbers.
so with everyone
get
going to
that.
vote, not just people who ride the bus.
Yeah, everybody that,
Yeah, 'cause the
you had to have a
bus schedule
student
affects all
ID.
kids.
Mhm.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So pretty small percentage, really.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
So does this require approval or is this just?
No,
information?
it's
Just info.
it's just communication.
The survey's continuing. It's not done yet. March 3rd. Oh. Oh, I take that back, sorry.
I think it's done.
Wow.
Any other questions? Okay,
So that concludes my report.
Thank you.
okay. All right, moving on to item. Okay, I believe Assistant Sue Pete Perez has a presentation.
Well, good evening, first of all. As we've been processing central office transformation these last several months, starting to get to the actual action steps from all of the planning that went into the work. And so this evening, just a short time ago, you approved our first 2 hires in that process. And so they're both here tonight. I just wanted to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. I think they'll be familiar faces to you, but certainly transitioning into a different role as we adjust the way that we operate at the central office. So if Justin Johnson and Jessica Schenk would just come forward and just give a brief message about their transition that's coming up.
This is a test.
Technology. It's great. So my name is Jessica Schenk. I know many of you, and I am so excited to start this new job. I don't think I'll be able to stop myself from starting probably tomorrow if I get the chance. So this is, I feel so strongly about STEM education. It's something that I think benefits everybody, and I can't wait to get started. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
I'm Justin Johnson. I'm also really excited about this new opportunity. It's a new position, obviously, like all these are, and so excited about the possibility of what it can become and how it can lead to helping the district in many different ways. So, yeah, just excited.
Thank you, guys. Glad to have you on board. Moving on to item C6, director discussions, and we will begin with our legislative report.
All right, so today I believe is day 92 of the 105-day regular session. And then who knows how long the extra session will be. But I think the biggest thing, there's still just bills that are still being discussed and not approved yet. So there's not much to talk about on those. I think the biggest thing is right now it's the House proposed capital budget and the Senate proposed capital budget. A couple things that I think are of interest to school boards, right? The House proposed capital budget is proposing some changes in the square footage. So the whole dollars per square foot per student. Remember we talked about that before, and say like a kindergartner needs a certain amount of square footage and how much they'll donate to that. But K through 6, they're proposing to go from $90 per square foot to $110 per square foot per student. So that will increase that budget there. The Senate proposed capital budget remains the same with that. They would maintain the current formulas. Both have some rural school construction grants, which I'm assuming would probably benefit us. The House proposed capital budget has 15 million toward that. The Senate proposed capital budget, 40 million. Senate proposed capital budget also has some money in there for the K3 class size reduction, some increase there that I don't see, at least in this spreadsheet from the House proposed budget. Both give some money increase too for STEM education as well as CTE. If you wanted to go on to TWIO, you could, the TWIO that was sent to us by Jeannie, you could actually look at spreadsheets for each district and see how it affects per pupil. But now they're going to be going through negotiations back and forth with, trying to come to an agreement that they both the Senate and the House can agree on. So that's probably the biggest news right now. Other than that, they're just bills that are waiting to see if they are approved. So that's about it.
Okay. Our student representative report, Caden, do you have something?
Yeah, so since last time we met, I don't think there's been a lot of movement on the Project Bridges because I know you guys want to hear about that. We got a letter out to all the principals from the school and they are getting together their form of representation so they can represent their school on that night the way that they want. So it's really up to them now. One thing I did want to bring to your attention was at Othello High School, we're going to start a new program, or we're going to try to. We meet at a staff meeting actually on Thursday to propose the idea of RSVP, which is Raising Student Voice and Participation. So we have like a homeroom class like once a week or maybe once a month. And in that class, we're going to go through things that the students believe that they can improve. And from there, it's going to be taken to teachers and administrators and see how they can actually meet those needs, just so you hear directly from the students. Any questions?
Awesome.
It's great.
When is the day for Project Bridges again?
May, it's a Wednesday. I think it's May 10th? No, May something. It's in May. Kira has all the information. It's been stalled. I'm sorry.
All right. Moving on to, I know that a few board meetings ago, we had mentioned bringing items. Go ahead.
I got a question because I thought I had put it in my calendar. It's I've got it for May 10th from 5:30 to 7.
That was the day she said, May 10th.
Okay, moving on. We had mentioned that we wanted to bring several agenda items for our board retreat. And if you have them today, we could discuss those and start a list of agenda items. If you do not, please bring at a minimum of 3 to 5 agenda items for our board retreat at our next meeting. That'll be the last meeting we could take them because we have to have an agenda ready to go. So
I don't know if you noticed, but I emailed mine to Sandra and they're attached in here.
Oh, okay. Anyone else have any today?
Yeah, the only thing that I would like as an agenda item that I think, in addition to what you'll choose, Director President Garza, which I'm sure will be great, your agenda items, is I would like to hear kind of show a list of our current programs, and then what your vision, Dr. Hurst, is as we go forward. What programs that you think fit into your vision, which ones you think that don't, and just a discussion about that.
If you guys notice, some of the items for discussion, I believe, is it potential 2017?
Yeah.
That are listed there, if just to make sure that you don't have the same items are already listed from Director Ashton. And so we will include those as well.
Would we still want to review board policies, considering we're going to have a separate time to go over those in detail, or would you want to do them both, do you think, still?
My thought was just put on the agenda, and if there's board members that have already written something, we could talk about it. I wasn't thinking going through them one by one.
Okay.
Wasn't my thought anyway.
Was this for the interpretations?
No, it's the very bottom one.
Oh, review board. Okay.
Just last year, there was like 5 or 6 that we reviewed that were new policies. So I don't have any idea if board members were looking at new policies or anything.
Well, and my kind of what I'm gathering from what Dr. Hurst is saying, that part of this whole process he's going to go through is interpretations as well as, so I guess we can discuss then
Well, I
if this
think
is something we should,
my recollection was Dr. Hirsch was already planning on providing interpretations at the retreat based
oh,
on
you were
their
going to do that there,
earlier,
not at the other meeting.
at their
Okay.
earlier meeting, because they're having that meeting before the retreat to
Okay.
talk about interpretations.
Great.
That was my understanding
Yes,
anyway.
absolutely.
And then I didn't know how to word that first one. The district improvement plan is, I guess, I'm more interested in hearing an update. At our last retreat, Dr. Hirsch gave us his entry plan. We talked about it extensively. I'm more, what that means to me is I want to hear from Dr. Hirsch what his vision for the district, where he's planning on taking the district in
Outstanding.
17, 18. I wrote it, when I read it the second time, it says district improvement plan. That's not what that didn't mean it. In school context, that has a negative connotation, I think, but that wasn't what I meant it as. But, and then the other thing that I wanted to ask the board, in our last retreat last year, we talked about that, as a board, that it would have been nice to have a staff perception survey at our retreat, that we had sent out to staff ahead of time to get a perception of how the staff views the board and its role. And if we were wanting to do that, it'd have to be sooner than later to get an appropriate response back from the staff.
How do we determine the questions that would be asked?
Glad you asked.
Can I segue that for you?
Yeah. So the other attached document I put on there, I compiled the board evaluation we did last year. The other comment from my notes from last year was it would be nice to have a Survey Monkey ahead of time where we answered the board self-evaluation questions ahead of time on Survey Monkey and just brought the results instead of going through them one by one in the retreat. So I put those together in a Survey Monkey format. I don't have access to the district Survey Monkey, so I just did it on my personal one and I can move it over. So I attached those questions I put on here that maybe you guys can look at and let Juan know if there's questions that you don't think we need. I think there's 60 questions on there.
It's 11 pages.
But if you do it as a survey, we're just talking about the results more than the questions themselves. And then I went and I circled the ones that I think maybe it'd be interesting to hear the staff's perspective on. So maybe pass it down that way and see if there's others that, of the ones that we're doing as our self-assessment. Some of them I think are appropriate. I'd be interested to know what the staff
Right, like the first one.
thinks, like the first one for sure.
So you want the survey out? We probably need to do this as soon as possible.
If the board wants to, yeah, I would assume we'd give these questions to Sandra and have her do a survey for the staff.
I have a request. Appreciate the time you put into this, by the way. Could you maybe, this document here as a PDF, could you highlight the ones that you think would be good ones and get the input back from the board? Then we could probably get.
I thought they were all good. That's why I put them on there.
For staff.
For staff?
Yeah.
Oh, I just circled them. You want me to
Well, I
go back
know
and highlight them
Unless
now?
you want to give a photocopy of this, but.
Yeah, let's photocopy that. I don't have to do any more work.
Wow, I guess you're done with all your work.
Or you can take the PDF.
Good job, Tony.
But,
What we could do is just have Sandra create a Survey Monkey with those that are circled, and if you guys want to add a question, then let her know. Is that easy enough?
Well, what if I don't like one that Tony picked? I don't think Sandra needs to take the time to put it in.
we have to get consensus.
No, I know what'll happen. Everyone will just say, those are great, Tony, let's go with that. But
Rather than
Let's do
you
it.
enter them in again, I think I can transfer the one I did on my business account over to I think I can email it to you and you can upload it in, so you don't have to retype it all.
Okay, great. Thank you for doing that, Tony. That's awesome. Any other questions about the self-evaluation?
So we're gonna have Sandra upload it into our Survey Monkey to answer.
To send it out to staff
What about ourselves?
and to us.
Yes.
But it'd be two separate surveys. One would be just
The
the
entire,
selected questions.
Right, we should only get one survey though. We won't.
Right.
anything else, Director Ashton?
I could lead,
20
I think the staff survey will lead to some interesting discussions at our retreat, I suspect.
I agree. So for anyone else who wants to make additions to the agenda, please come prepared to our next board meeting. Thank you. And moving on. Tennis courts. I know that I'm not sure how many other board members have received phone calls or emails, but I certainly have. And so I appreciate our Assistant Superintendent Bullis that was able to email all of us the scope of the project and also was able to listen to the minutes from the last board meeting where I believe something might have been mentioned, but that caused someone to misunderstand. And so just wanted to make sure that the board was aware, first of all, received the email that Gina sent us and are well informed so that if somebody calls you, you can have a response for them. So is everyone good? Any questions about that?
Okay. When will we have the bids back?
It hasn't gone to bid.
Oh, I thought it had gone to bid.
No, so the architects are still working on actually trimming back even the scope of what's going to be put in the basic courts. So based on it was either the last board meeting or the prior one, there was a request that actually the drawings be brought to the board before it even goes to bid. So the plan right now is that will be included in the April 24th board meeting so that there's an opportunity to look at the drawings, and then we'll move forward with the bid process, which will be about a 3 to 4 week time period from the time we post it in the paper till we open bids, which will still allow time to get them done this summer if we move forward that direction.
I do have a question about the scope itself, and maybe if we think about it now, we won't have to make changes later, but we had talked last time about the lights, and I know I heard that there's a community member that thinks that we said we're not going to have lights or something.
Right.
I'm not quite sure where they got that, but one of the things that I thought about, we're having lights as one of the options. We wanted to have it as an option, but one of the things that I think we should maybe consider is the wiring for the lights to be in the base bid, and then just whether or not lights get installed would be an option, because trying to go back and put in lights later, I mean, you got to have the wiring for it. So I would guess if the way we have, I think, talked about it and told Gina about it, probably understanding was either with or without lights. Lights would just be an option, all the wiring and everything. So I was going to ask you, do you think it'd be a good idea to make sure the wiring for it's in the base bid at least, and then just talk about actual lights as an option?
I mean, now would be the time to run the wire, so yeah, I would agree.
So that it's there, even if we don't
Put the poles up.
put the poles up today.
So
I
that would
believe
be some
that
clarification.
I believe that's the way that they are going to
Okay.
do it. In the first time around last fall, that's how it was the wiring was there, and then the actual light poles and fixture was an alternate.
Remind me again, since we're talking about the lights, football is the only sport that has lights now. Baseball doesn't have lights, softball.
Softball doesn't. I'm
I kinda
not
take
sure
a
if
quick
baseball
look
does.
around.
Well, soccer plays on the
Right,
field too, so.
just the one field has
Mhm.
lights.
Yeah, there is no lights.
Okay. Just, at some point, something we'll have to consider because, I'm sure everybody wants lights if you ask them.
I didn't ask them, and they're telling me though.
And, I know lights are expensive and so, obviously football games are at a time when you have to have the lights but anyway, just something for the board to think about between now and then is, what do they call that? The collateral effect of the request that may come, depending on what we do there.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, moving on. There's a tentative date set for rescheduling of the fiscal workshop, and this is for May 8th, which is a board. It's a date where we have a board meeting already, and we just we scheduled, or it's been scheduled at 6 o'clock, an hour before the board meeting on either May 8th or May 22nd. And so I want a consensus from the board which one they would prefer.
Why so far out? I thought we were trying to get this done so that we had plenty of time. Now it's like that's a month from now.
So I asked that same question. Gina has the answer to that.
I do. So originally we were going to have it for tomorrow night, which with the facility planning meeting, that was a conflict. And just based on the schedule and my availability, the earliest I could do it would be in May, and probably could do it before May 8th, but trying to not tie up another meeting.
So you're gone April 24th or the next board meeting?
No, but I'm also looking at just the items that need to be done between now and then. So I would propose that it be done May 8th or May 22nd.
I'm confused about the items. You mean for the
What-
board that we have to?
No, not the board. What I'm working on, and just to be able to be prepared for, I mean, because knowing that we weren't going to have it as of April 11th, my preparation to have a board workshop has been put aside until I had, and the board development is I'm working on the board development, but I'm not prepared to roll it out by the 24th with the leadership data we have prepared for the 27th. There's just a lot of other pieces that are moving parts, and so to have a board presentation in the proper format, I would propose the 8th being the earliest.
Can I get consensus that the 8th works best for the board?
Works for me.
Okay.
Doesn't matter for me.
Yeah, it depends on what time.
6 o'clock.
No, it work for me.
It won't.
My schedule just filled up just recently, very significantly through May.
So the 22nd is better for you then?
I can live with that. How long would the meeting be?
45 minutes should be sufficient. And I don't have it in front of me, but I know we have a forum scheduled in June. That is, I think, around the 19th. So this probably aligns a little better. We may have more information from the, maybe from the
There's a
state.
forum the 19th.
Yeah, so
The 8th would work for me, but just a little bit later. It was like 7.
Our board meeting's at
Board
7.
meeting's at 7.
Oh, that's a board meeting.
Yeah, they're both board meeting dates.
Ooh. Then I'll make it work, because I would have had to miss this
On the
for the
8th?
board meeting anyways.
The 8th will work then?
Yep.
Okay, so we will plan it for the 8th then.
okay, thank you.
Awesome. Next is NSBA conference recap, and so I'll let Director Mike Garza begin with how it went.
Well, great time in Denver, cold. But actually, it's just hard. Like, I know when we went to Boston, there was 4 of us at that time. And when we got together the first day as to who was going to go where, even with 4 of us there was a lot of stuff that we didn't cover just because of the myriad of sessions that are offered. I know when President Garza and I sat down, he kind of mentored, coached me through trying to see if at the end of the conference there was a policy that maybe I wanted to write or amend or enhance of the ones we had. And as I was going to these sessions, I had that in mind. And honestly, no, I didn't come back from Denver with a new policy that I want to write. But my notes are, I'll tie them like when principals do their presentations or their reports to ends 1 and 2. First off, the global end and the quality educational opportunities. And I'll just read off, the stuff that I wrote down. The session, it was a continuum of learning, realizing that it is a marathon, not a sprint. It is difficult to not want to bring a myriad of ideas and plans for new policies to the district. You're here. You hear so many new and interesting ideas and concepts that are great, but after much thought, let's pick a few and stay on course. I'm glad to see our new STEM director that's here tonight, because this particular session was very heavy, very infused with STEM. STEM infused curriculum is absolutely in the future of the educational system in one way or another. They had, I won't be able to make the facilities planning meeting tomorrow, but even I hear we have plans or preliminary renditions or whatever. They had slides or even some renditions that school doesn't look like a school. You know, I'm hoping, I know the discussion where it sits today is a potential innovative high school. And after seeing some of the stuff I saw there, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if a building that was designed like the stuff I was seeing is even going to be in Othello, and I'm excited to hope, or I hope that it does come. It was just, it's the wave of the future, I guess, and I'm glad to see that. I don't want to not knock our previous administration or anything, but it was started, and I think Dr. Hurst and the executive cabinet and their vision are going to see it to fruition here. But it was just, many kids need to be career ready as well as college ready. I know we as a board have said that we're experiencing that in Othello. A lot of our kids are choosing not to go to college, and I know we have ends and everything else that are geared towards that, to making sure their kids are ready to succeed if they choose not to go to college. And just Dr. Hurst and the team just have a tremendous task in front of them of making sure that happens, that we do follow through with those things. Project-based learning will require a lot of creative thinking when designing. Space will need to be made to accommodate several scenarios as to encourage and be innovative. Limitless learning. This session, even though it was only like an hour and 15 minutes, it was like, left me thinking if Dr. Hurst was here, he'd have like 2 pages of notes and stuff, and what our high school should look like and stuff. But it was a great session. Then I went to Oak Grove, Illinois, I believe is a school district. They had a presentation on supporting and retaining new teachers. And I know that the teacher shortage isn't exclusive to Othello, to Washington, or any other state. It's a nationwide project. But these folks had some of the things that they had done. And, you know, the power of growing our students' intellectual habits or functions lies in the educators in our system, some new, some veteran. We need to invest time and resources to create and develop an environment that enhances OSD as the district educators want to apply to, and once exposed to the great atmosphere, they stay. These folks had scenarios where they ran into hiring a new teacher, and then all of a sudden, first day of orientation, this teacher is like the gentleman over there by the camera, and isolation is for a new teacher can be detrimental. We must create a collaborative environment right from the start as a sign of acceptance to the staff. We need to cultivate and grow educators. Our leadership has a great responsibility to grow teachers from good to great. Evaluations should be used to grow teachers as well as keep accountable. And something that this district has done, and I know COT is the beginning of all this, and it's basically gonna free up our instructional coaches and our mentors to be there to create this environment where these teachers that are gonna apply here, and those that are already here that maybe had this evil thought of leaving for whatever reason, reconsider and say, you know what, this is where I want to be. Mentors and instructional coaches are vital. This is a side note for Dr. Hurst. They recommended Leaders Eat Last for great books, The Multiplier Effect, and Teach Like a Champion as books. So I took notes of those three things. And I'm also glad to see Jen Perez here tonight, because I went to a session that said it was better to have 2 languages. It says you have great teaching and poor test scores. You can also have so-so teachers with great test scores. Biliteracy will open up a Pandora's box to those students who retain primary language and adopt a second language. It is a moral imperative that we continue to focus on bilingual teaching. Kids need basics in original language that will be greatly enhanced when second language is introduced. Schools need to be set up properly. English speakers seeking Spanish need to be taught differently. Our educators need proper PD. And I know that I told Chris last time when we talked about this after our meeting at Hiawatha that some of the staff had expressed concerns about it not being set up properly, well, after going to this session, I know that I think I'll be visiting Hiawatha a little more often to make sure that we do follow through and make sure that the dual language program is set up correctly with whatever resources are necessary to make sure that it is an effective program. Great time in Denver. I appreciate that Principal Garza took the time to kind of mentor me, coach me as to some of the stuff that I should be looking for. But again, like most of these conferences we go to, you wish you could split yourself up into 3 pieces and 10 more stuff. But
No, it was a slip, but the language isn't Luticaga.
it was
You
a
said
slip. I'm
Hiawatha, but I know
sorry.
you meant.
You knew what I meant.
And
Thank
you
you.
called me principal, so I appreciate
Principal?
I
Oh.
appreciate the new title.
Am I getting prophetic here? Sorry, Jen. Hiawatha. You knew what I meant.
I wish I was. I wish I was paid like a principal. But anyway,
No, but again, appreciate the opportunity to attend the conference, and it was a very, very good conference.
so yeah, Mike shared quite a bit of some highlights. I attended some of the better sessions that I have attended in previous conferences that I've been at, but one that really motivated me to really have a good discussion with Dr. Hurst and even the board at some point is a session that I went to called Disrupting Poverty. And just that session really opened my eyes to how we think of our students who are in poverty, and knowing that our district is about 90% free and reduced.
Right around 90%.
It really just shed some light to not only how we look at those types of students, but how our staff and district views them. And something interesting, and I want to ask these questions to the board and see how you answer this. But is this factor fiction? And so this is for the 3 board members that weren't able to make it. People in poverty are unmotivated and have weak work ethic.
Fiction.
False. Yeah.
Where you have to individually answer.
Yeah, you need to
Quiz.
answer. It's a quiz.
I'll abstain with Rob's answer unless he's wrong.
Education as a way out of poverty is readily accessible to everyone.
False. Fiction.
People living in poverty are uninvolved in their children's education because they do not value education.
Fiction.
And people living in poverty tend to abuse drugs, alcohol, more than people in other socioeconomic classes.
I'm gonna go with fiction.
So those are some common myths, and I don't know that everyone would answer fiction to that if we were to survey most people. But so I really was drawn to just a different view of dealing with children in poverty, and so the questions that I asked myself were: are we aggressively working to eliminate blame and confront low expectations from staff? Have we developed an accurate understanding of poverty? Are we leveling the playing field for our students that live in poverty? And so these are some of the discussions that I really want to have with Dr. Hurst and see if there's a way that we can maybe phrase some sort of addition to our policies to make sure that we are always looking out and addressing possibly even training needs for staff. And so I was really drawn to that session. It was awesome. Some of the other sessions that I attended, one of them was very interesting. I went to a session that was just basically titled Bullying. And so I just figured that they were going to give us some new policies about student bullying. But 99% of the session had nothing to do with student bullying. It had to do with adult bullying, and how it's the national trend right now is really not, the problems aren't with students, but they're with staff and adults. And so it was very interesting to hear some of the approaches that some districts are using to deal with adult bullying and what exactly is adult bullying. And so I have an array of PowerPoint presentations that I'm going to send to Dr. Hurst so that he could review them and just, have a discussion with him about those. And I want to send them to you guys as well so that you could look and see where we might be lacking in
Is
in
this
some of the
bullying
training.
with students or bullying with their peers, their teachers?
Both. The majority of the issues is really adults bullying students. But it's also adults bullying adults within the schools.
Right.
And so it was very interesting. It was pretty powerful, some of the comments that were being made at the session. Another one that I really enjoyed, and I gave a business card to Sandra. One of the most motivational sessions that I've ever attended. And, I love motivational speakers, but there's a gentleman, his name is Steven Sroka, who is a doctor now, but when he was a student in elementary school, he was diagnosed as, and this is what he said: I was diagnosed as mentally retarded and something else. I'm trying to think. Anyway, and so he had a rough life, and just the way he presented in this class had everyone, you could hear a pin drop in the carpet. Everyone was so engaged. And this guy just really upped the level of thinking for everyone, and really talked about the differences between how we see our students. One of the things he mentioned that I thought was very interesting was, he said, we're trying to teach our students all the same materials, for them to learn all the same stuff and to be to meet state standard. And he said, but our students learn different. So if our students learn differently, then why are we teaching them the same thing? And so he went off on that subject. And so it was incredibly interesting. And he grew up in a very rough area in LA. So this is, I think he lived in Compton. He's a white guy living in Compton, but if you hear him speak, he's from Compton. And so, but he was so motivated to get people to change the way they view specific stereotypical students and where they come from. And it was just incredible. I gave the card to Sandra because if the district ever wanted to hear someone really motivate staff, this is the man to bring. He was incredible. The other session that I thought was interesting was on dropout rates and how to fix graduation rates, and that was extremely interesting. I'm going to make sure to send those PowerPoint slides to all of you as well. It provided some areas, some specific areas that can help us increase graduation rates, and it was really cool. They mentioned a couple things that I thought were interesting. One of them says dropouts create an economic crisis by contributing only 50% of taxes / workforce compared to their graduating peers. I had no idea it was 50%. That's a high percentage. Another thing that was mentioned was dropouts have a greater chance of damaging lifestyles, which could end up leading to incarceration. And we've all heard of the prison pipeline and when kids start getting in trouble at school and ending up truant and associated with the juvenile court system, the chances of them being incarcerated are much greater. And so it was a great presentation on how we can keep kids in school and graduate them. The districts that provided presentations in this session were districts that had 100% graduation rates, which I think is phenomenal. So it was really interesting. So I'll make sure to send you guys those slides as well. This was a great conference. One thing that I did come out with, and this is my last thing, because I could talk a lot more about other sessions, but is that I was very encouraged to know that as I'm listening to everything that's going on, and I've seen the vision that Dr. Hurst and his staff have for the future of this district. We are right in line to be doing some of the greater things that any district that comes to these national conferences is doing. And so as I look at his at his vision and his strategic plan for the future of this district. I'm excited to see where we're going, because a lot of these districts aren't even close to being there. And so I was very encouraged by that. And so it was a great conference. You guys need to make sure you make the next one. They're always really good. Anyway, moving on. Superintendent contract discussion. As you're aware, Director Ashton has prepared an awesome form. I think this is a great form to make sure that we get every one of the districts that we've asked. I believe there's only 2 districts, Sandra, that have not responded. So we have 8 responses so far. We will be using this form as well as other forms when we get in and talk about our negotiations for the superintendent contract. But Tony, I don't know if you want to explain what you've done here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Some of the numbers that I don't know is a lot of we basically broke it down by what the other districts are paying as base salary, and then other benefits they're providing. They're varied and wide, and every district's a little bit different in what they're doing. But breaking down what they're paying towards retirement and bonus performance pay, what they're doing as far as medical benefits, how many work days the superintendents are getting paid for, cell phone allowances, things like that. Just to try to break it down so that we can have an idea of what everyone else is doing regarding superintendent pay. But, and so that's all there for the board to review. I guess my question for the president is are we going to schedule a workshop to work on these contracts? Or are we going to, or what's our plan, and so when can we schedule
So
it?
we will later at this board meeting, we're going to break into executive session to talk about the superintendent contract, negotiating that contract. And yes, there will be an opportunity for us to listen to some of the ideas that our superintendent has, and some of this information that you get put together, and for us to have a discussion as a board as to how we want to change, if we want to change at all, the contract that we currently have with our superintendent. So we could either do that in an executive session, unless you think it's going to take more time than more than 30 minutes, then we can schedule a special workshop or meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that format.
Okay.
And how the rest of the board feels.
Sure.
I think if it's something that we decide there needs to be more discussion, we need to come out of executive session to then come to a consensus of when to have a workshop.
Okay.
But I guess based on what details we've shared in executive session, we know if we're going to need more discussion.
Okay. Great. Any other questions? Just want to thank Director Ashton for the time that he spent putting all these proposals together on one form. It really helps.
One comment I will make is that when you go to the Kitsap Sun and Spokesman, you can see after you dig into these contracts how difficult it is and why there's so many errors in that reporting, because there's just so many different ways superintendents and teachers, everybody's getting paid, and to try to put it consolidated in one format is pretty difficult. So I wish we would have been doing this earlier, because I can see now clearly that the information you get from Spokesman and Kitsap's, while it's well-meaning, it's not necessarily accurate.
But the problem is the perception is accurate by the public.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to, then this will be the last item under director discussions, board graduation participation. So you have a list in front of you of all the dates of all the graduations this year. And what I'd like to do is find out today if we know already what board member would like to participate with what graduation ceremony. And so I will be participating in the middle school promotion. So we'll need one more for the middle school.
That's the only one that I can say with confidence that I can be at.
You can? Okay, so Director Ashton and myself will do middle school. High school?
I can do high school if you'd like.
The only one I'd be able to do is the high school.
Okay, Director Simmons, Director Mike Garza, high school. Director Hilmes, could you do DOHS?
I don't know. I am going to have to get back to you on that.
Okay,
That's at about 7 o'clock usually at night.
yes, and I believe June 6th is a Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
Yeah,
Let me get back to you.
okay, let me know if not, someone else will fill in. I think the DOHS, correct me if I'm wrong, only needs one board member? Okay.
So in the past.
Okay,
The OHS graduation, there'll be chairs for all the board members. In case, I'm not sure if I'll be able to attend it, but there'll be a chair there. Do I need to let somebody
She
know
usually sends out that RSVP, if you're going to be there or not.
closer to the event, right?
What time's that gonna be this year? Do we know?
Doesn't
OHS
show
graduation, what time does that start, you know?
Not that big of a deal. I'll just,
We did, it was later than normal last year, right? Because they wanted to wait till the sun was down.
like 8 maybe.
Worked pretty good, whatever it was last year.
Well, they also turned it. So we're
They
facing
did, they
north and
turned it
south.
too, yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll get times for our next board meeting for all those graduation ceremonies. Great. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to item D1, assurance of organizational performance. We'll go through our survey monkeys. And with the consensus of the board, what I'd like to do is for D1, D2, and D3, which is GP5, President's Role, GP6, Board Advisory Committee Structure, GP7, Advisory Committee Structure, all of those are totally in compliance with no comments at all. And so can I get consensus from the board to move on to the
Yes.
fourth?
Yes.
Okay, so moving on to D1, ends 3.
D4.
I'm sorry, D4, thank you. So question number 1, develop skills in financial management by establishing financial priorities for current and future needs, effectively managing personal finances. And so there was a couple of comments which read as follows. As per report, MMS does not offer opportunities to develop financial management skills. Comment number 2 is you have made great strides in this area. However, we are not in full compliance yet. I look forward to seeing your future inclusion plan going into effect. And so there's only 2 board members that found that in compliance, 2 in compliance with the following exceptions, and then 1 not in compliance. And so
So 4 were in compliance, but 2 of them with an exception, right?
right. So is there any board member that would like to make any comment or change? And would you like to keep both comments in question number 1?
Well, I guess I'd ask for clarification from Dr. Hurst. If it is in your report, I don't remember from the last time I read it, that MMS does not offer opportunities now, then I don't know that we need that comment because it's in his report. That was, I guess, for just clarifying or something.
Maybe that was clarifying why someone chose not in compliance or in compliance with an exception.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. That was a clarification for
And
that.
I think
Okay.
I wrote that. I just don't remember if I said not in compliance or in compliance with an exception.
Yeah. But do we need that comment in there
No,
if
it's just-
it's in the report
It
too,
was
right? Just the reason for it.
clarifying my position.
If you're saying there's an exception, don't you have to clarify what that exception is?
I believe so.
I think you should.
So if that's clarifying the exception, I don't have a problem with that being in there.
Which one?
Both,
Okay.
both comments are fine with me,
Yeah, I'm fine with them both.
but I feel it is in compliance with exception because, that doesn't make the whole thing out of compliance, even though it
Okay.
usually says every student.
So question number 1 is still in compliance then. Is that consensus?
With
With an exception.
With exception, okay. Okay, question number 2 was in compliance all unanimously, and there was no comments. Moving on to question number 3, there was 4 in compliance and 1 not in compliance with no comment. And so my assumption is And we did these so long ago that I don't even remember. It could have been me. I'm not sure if, unless somebody knows it was them.
It would be in compliance anyway. 'cause
Right.
it's For
But there was no comment, so we'll just move forward. Question number 4, unanimously in compliance. Question number 5, 4 in compliance, 1 not in compliance. The comment reads as such: looking forward to a higher level of compliance in all 5 areas based on Dr. Hurst's future plans. These plans were articulated well in the monitoring report.
That was my comment. And it was, I didn't choose not in compliance, so that was just a general comment.
Would you like to keep the comment, board?
yeah, I would.
Okay, there you go.
Anybody else?
But you didn't.
It's just me.
You didn't mark not in compliance?
No, that was just a general comment I made. I think it was a while ago, unless I just took someone else's comment, then you can correct me. I think that was mine.
Okay. Any other questions on N3? Survey Monkey?
So overall, it's in compliance with with exception.
Overall in compliance with following exceptions.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to D5. EL20, highly capable program. Question 1, unanimously in compliance with no comments. Question number 2, failure to identify every student, including the, and I believe this is a typo, undeserved. The comment specifies the typo, and instead of undeserved is underserved is what it should read. And so I'm not sure if that changes anyone's mind about not being in compliance or not, but if you read it literally, that could be the case. But it's still in compliance. Three board members found that in compliance. 2 did not. Comment states, while it was acknowledged that there is an equity and access issue, I appreciate Dr. Hurst's plan moving forward. Would also like to see if SPED students have been identified in any area. For clarification, the word in the policy is underserved instead of undeserved. Consensus to keep comment?
The policy itself is correct, right? It's not misspelled in the policy itself. It's just on the Survey Monkey.
On the Survey Monkey, right.
So I think the first half of the comment's great. The last part of it doesn't really need to be in there. We just need to fix that on our Survey Monkey for the next time round, right? Next year.
So question number 3, 4 found in compliance, 1 not in compliance. The comment reads, would like to talk about the interpretation of this section. Not sure whose comment that was.
That's gotta be Rob's.
That was mine.
Okay.
Man, this was like a month ago, but
It's only,
So-
it was 3/22. It wasn't quite a month.
no, when we got the
Only
report.
3 weeks. Yeah, month for the report.
And I think my memory on that was as I was coming up with, when I was writing this policy after our last NSBA conference, they had talked about the importance of preparing the students to be able to take the assessment. Where if you just go in cold with a student who's never taken that sort of assessment, like what's coming to mind is the one where it's maybe the COGNAT or COGAT one, where a lot of kids have never seen that type of test. In this session, they were saying it's important to expose the children to that test so they kind of get that, oh, okay, I know what I'm supposed to be doing on this test. And so that's what this was about. When I wrote it, was a failure to develop a preparation program for screening every student. And I don't know if that was how you interpreted that, Dr. Hurst. So that's why I wanted to just talk about the interpretation.
So you're absolutely right. I did not interpret it that way. So in my interpretation, I'm looking at it now. It says superintendent will ensure that we're progressing toward a systemic structure for identifying students, but also I included that that system or that structure will also provide for screening, is what I said.
Yeah.
So
So
I made
that's
the
what I wondered
distinction.
when I
between-
read it, if it was the same interpretation of
Right.
as what the board had. But do you see where I'm coming from on that? I don't, when I saw that specific test, I remember looking at that and thinking, I don't have any clue what you're supposed to choose here because I had never seen a test like that either. So anyways, for future reference, that's what that
Yeah.
was when it was written. That was
Okay.
the reason for that.
Got it.
Question number 4 is unanimously in compliance. Question number 5. Comment reads, appreciate that we are looking at additional screening criteria to target this group.
So maybe I must have missed this part when I did it. Are we not doing the tests? I thought one of the tests was in Spanish that we were doing for the, I don't know if you remember or not, Chris, but I thought one of those tests was in Spanish now.
Now it is.
I think Larry, I think is might be how it's pronounced, but it seemed like that one was.
Because that's what this is saying, right? Is that the screening should be done in the native language of the students.
You would not fail to administer screenings in the student's
Right.
native language. Yeah.
So I guess I'm
Yeah, I'm looking at the notes
Said
right.
it was non-compliant. I was just trying to clarify.
I put the comment, but I marked in compliance. And I was just mentioning that I appreciate that we're looking at even additional screening
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that my understanding to make sure that I
We do have
put it in compliance for the.
we have one in Spanish, I believe, one of the.
I can go back and check, but I'm looking at my notes right now. It doesn't say that that assessment is actually given in Spanish, but I can go back and check. Want to talk about it, Pete?
Yeah, and give a brief update. I met with Tammy Baxter today. She's been working and coordinating with our assessment paras at each of the elementaries, or our assessment secretaries. And one of the assessments that they're going to deliver this year through an online platform will be available in Spanish. And I know specifically at Ludicaga, they were talking about having 2 rooms of second graders that will have an opportunity to take the assessment, the screener, in Spanish. And that will be an option at all of our sites.
I think my comment was based on in the report, it said that the district was looking at additional
Yes,
screening criteria, right?
absolutely.
Okay, that clarified my question.
So keep the comment. Consensus? Yes, okay. Question 6, unanimously in compliance. Question 7, 1 not in compliance. There was no comment, so that'll be in compliance. There was 4 in compliance. And any questions on
So overall, again,
in compliance?
with an exception or in compliance?
Were there any exceptions?
There wasn't any
So
exceptions.
just,
It's
just in compliance with some comments.
With comments, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Moving on to policy review. E1, GP5, President's Role. Is there any recommended changes? Okay, moving on, E2, GP6, Board Advisory Committee. Any recommended changes? Okay, moving on, item E3, GP7, Advisory Committee Structure. Any recommended changes?
Just a question on this one. Do we have GP 7.1 that is the advisory committee that we had set up? Do we need to, as a board, say that is no longer, or does that take care of itself?
It's supposed, each one should have an end date on it, right?
And then do we just need to make sure it's taken out of the board docs so that it's not even viewable anymore? Is that something we need to talk about when we review GP 7, or is that something that automatically Sandra would do?
I would think it'd be automatic, but it's up to the board.
I'm not sure. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm not sure why we even have those in there. Policy. It's the same with the annual board agenda. It's referenced under this policy, but it's not really a policy itself. We don't review it. And it's just the document that we form committees. So we don't have to remember to take it out and in. And
Right.
even if there's a separate section somewhere where we can put the annual board agenda and that kind of a document where it's not in policy. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks about it, but it's not a policy technically.
Where would you put it? Once we created that committee, where would you put the document that shows that we have a
Somewhere where
working committee?
somewhere where the public can easily access it, even if it's just a separate deal under here or on the website somewhere. I don't know.
So for now, are we saying that 7.1, we just make sure 7.1 is not in those policies?
That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think so too.
That consent, yeah.
Yeah,
That
because-
sounds like we have consensus.
I don't think it's actually in here.
Is this,
That I
Might have
see
been an over-
anyway.
so GP6, is it board advisory committee principles or structure?
Structure. Is it,
Okay.
is it
No, it's
written?
principles.
I think it's principles, so
Okay, it was,
It's
I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure. So it's just
You're right.
in board docs. I thought,
Right.
I was wondering why we were redundant with those two policy names.
Right, right,
Okay. So the policy itself is correct though under,
Okay, moving on, item E4, ends 3. Any recommended changes?
not yet.
Okay. E5, EL20, any recommended changes? Highly capable program. Okay. F1, we will, the board will remain in executive session for approximately 30 minutes for the purpose of superintendent contract negotiation. We will be taking a 5-minute recess and come back into executive session.
Possible action.
No actions.
Well, if we set up a
Possibly, yeah.
date
Possible
for
action.
Possible action for a workshop.
a workshop.
There will be possible action then, yeah. Okay, we're in recess.